Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining me as I introduce Flipgrid, reviving discussion boards through digital video. Flipgrid, for those of you that are not familiar, is a video-based tool and is just like I've entitled it. It's really a discussion board, but uses digital video rather than the written word as we're traditionally used to. Little background, I was first introduced to Flipgrid as a student at NC State in ECI 517, Theoretical Foundations of Advanced Learning Environments with Dr. Evans. Dr. Evans used Flipgrid primarily as a substitute or supplement to our traditional Moodle discussion boards. Instead of posting to the discussion forum, in a written paragraph or a short essay, we rather would post the short 90-second videos, which we'll get into the particulars of that. But I thought it was a really cool way to get to know my classmates. There are certain things that you just can't, certain personality traits and nuances that you can't pick up through your traditional asynchronous discussion that the Flipgrid tool I thought really helped out with. And really overall, I thought it was really just easy to use. So could see how exciting it is for various learning communities, including even the private sector and K-12 learning environments. But without further ado, I'm looking forward to introducing Flipgrid to you. So the objectives of the training for today, in part one, I'll just provide an overview for you, give a perspective on asynchronous discussions, and then highlight some of the supporting theory of asynchronous discussions. And then in the training part two, we'll ask ourselves, how do we use it? So I'll go over getting started with Flipgrid, creating your first Flipgrid, creating a subtopic of from Flipgrid, and then I'll actually even go through a student demonstration to give you a sense of what the student is experiencing as a user. Also introduce you to the Global Connections tab. The Global Connections tab is a repository of other Flipgrid users, other learning environments, and it's a great resource for teachers and other students alike to kind of see what your peers are doing with the tool and how some of them are using it for their learning experiences. Some food for thought before we get started. Flipgrid is very rooted in the sociocultural theory of learning, the pillar of which would be Vygotsky, the 20th century Russian psychologist. And here's a quote that sums it up pretty nicely. Through others, we become ourselves. So background on asynchronous discussion in digital learning environments. It all started, of course, with the Socratic teaching. This is the oldest method in the book. We focus on the questions and not the answers. Vygotsky called it internalization, and that is thinking of a discussion that one has with oneself, and it develops on the basis of discussions that you have with others. So Flipgrid is certainly a great vehicle to achieve that internalization aim. It is a socio-cultural construction, as I mentioned, where the knowledge is formed primarily by the connections. Students share cognitive load, and they engage in mutual regulation of the discourse. A more modern theoretical approach would be the connectivist approach, again, where knowledge is formed by connections. And if you think about our world of social media and really the everything being dependent on the connectedness of one another, the connectivist theory certainly holds up for this Flipgrid tool. Also, it allows for regular peer feedback and low stakes, high frequency formative assessment for data purposes. So basically, the video has replaced the written form. I thought of the Video Killed the Radio Star song by the Buggles back in 1980. Really, Flipgrid just adds color, adds a diverse surface whereabout you can have these types of discussions in your learning environments. So how does digital video enhance discussion boards? Well, firstly, with visual literacies. We've discussed it in emerging technologies, the need to build on 21st century learning skills. Current education research emphasizes that contemporary literacy concepts must extend towards complex visual media. No longer are we able to just communicate through 2D sort of ways. really have to start thinking about more creative ways of communicating and really preparing our students to thrive in 21st century technologies and environments. Also, think about problem solving. With video, you avoid oversimplification. You can engage in collaborative efforts, and also it creates a joint problem space. Because not only do you have to worry about the content that you're going to be putting into the video, but you also have to worry about the stylistic aspects of it. So there is an artistic creativity, critical thinking. It has serves a dual purpose. In the realm of Bloom's taxonomy, I pulled this resource. It's kind of a digital spin on it, but some main ideas, if you think about, Bloom's taxonomy, would be recitation, reflection, presentation, critical commenting, and then inventing and filming. So how does Flipgrid enhance discussion boards? Flipgrid specifically. Well, if we think about mobile learning, as we learned through the 8 essentials for mobile learning, all the beauty of Flipgrid is all it really requires is a webcam. So, if you have any device, handheld device, a cell phone, laptop, iPad, any of those things, you can use Flipgrid. And this helps you build your personal efficacy and a capacity for self-directed learning. And so you can really participate in the discussion anywhere and everywhere. In doing so, we create an ecosystem that is sustainable and scalable. From the view of formative assessment, Flipgrid is great because it's a brief sort of summary, digest of what the student has learned. They basically have to condense these major ideas into 1 minute and 30 seconds. And if you think about kind of the way that 21st century society communicates through Twitter memes, Snapchats, you have to really convey a lot of information in a very short spurts. So Flipgrid's a great sort of indoctrination into that, like it or not. Also, it's very flexible. And if you think about emotive cues, as I kind of mentioned how I got to know my classmates' personalities through using the tool, if you're an instructor and want to know how well your students are taking in the content for the week, it would help to have access to their facial expressions, tone of voice. And this is particularly true in a distance education learning environment. So Flipgrid is really unique in its ability to provide us with the formative assessment that we so rely upon. Just to give you an idea of the Flipgrid vision, Flipgrid empowers and amplifies student voice, and that's pulled directly from their website, kind of their mission statement. Fun fact: in 2017, Flipgrid was awarded the Cool Tool Award by EdTech Digest. So certainly an example of an emerging technology that you can, more likely than not, you'll see more rather than less of. All right, and without further ado, we'll go into our demo. Okay, so let's get started here on the Flipgrid homepage. As you can see, it has a nice moving image here and welcomes you to the tool, invites you to create a free account. I do just want to scroll down on the general information. This kind of gives you a review of what I discussed in the intro, some other brief information, maybe some teacher feedback. Obviously, from an advertisement perspective, you'll just have to be the judge on how valuable the tool will be for you. Do want to point out, importantly, the platforms that the Flipgrid tool integrates nicely with. These include Google Classroom, as you can see here, Canvas, and I was first introduced to the tool on Moodle. But as you can see, you have a variety of other EdTech tools that Flipgrid does integrate nicely with, that you can incorporate into your instructional design. Here's also an overview of the pricing. For the purposes of this assignment, we'll be going at it from the Flipgrid 1 free version. Typically, if you're using the Flipgrid for one course, the free version will do just fine. You can simply just differentiate assignments by differentiating topics. If you really did like the tool and wanted to have unlimited access, you have the $65 option. and then probably if you're an administrator looking, ITF looking to purchase this for your school community, you can buy that Classroom 10 pack. But from here, we'll just go ahead and log in and get started with creating our grid. So if you create a Flipgrid account and log in, you'll see you'll have access to this nice dashboard screen. This is kind of a repository, a good summary to see the activity going on with your Flipgrid. This is a brand new account for me, so as you can see, lots of zeros. But as you can see, you can have grids, topics, total responses, responses for the week, any interactions that may have happened, and then also it will show your total engagement time with the tool. One of the nice features I'd like to point out is this weekly timeline, which allows you as the user, administrator, facilitator, or teacher to see any interactions or responses that have occurred throughout the week with your Flipgrid. Down here you'll have the summary of unwatched videos. So as you can see from the profile avatars here, this will be where you'll see all of any students that you have and any new contributions to the Flipgrid input by your students. So the next thing we'll go over is how to create a new grid from scratch. All right, so if you select Create New Grid, you'll be taken to this data entry point. For the purposes of this, we'll call our grid the ECI 512 sample grid. You can come up with any type of pertinent title, any type of catchy title that you'd like for the grid. You can also break it down by chronological, week 4 posts, discussion posts. If you have the professional edition, which requires the upgrade, you also have the ability to customize the grid code. So, for example, I can call it for flipgrid.com/ECI512sample or anything else relating to the course that you're using the tool for. You also have to make the decision, do you want the grid to be password protected? Maybe if you're discussing something of a bigger global concern and inviting collaboration for others, you want to make that for public access. But if it's more of a local type of issue, or maybe a discussion among close team members, you do want to have that password protection, adds that layer of privacy and security. Same thing goes sort of with the links. You're allowed to select sort of the permissions that you want to allow users of the grid as when they publish the link to the grid. Probably for the first time, you'll want to moderate the responses of students, so you can select that as a yes feature. This makes sure that any posts or submissions to the grid are appropriate and on task for the discussion topic at hand. Also, through the grid followers function, you can make it so students receive emails any type of new submission is added to the grid. And do you want to be notified when anybody submits anything to the grid? You have that option to select that as well. Also transcriptions, and finally you have the auto-generated keywords function. If you think sort of about a Wordle graphic, this will extract main ideas or main concepts that come to mind as the discussion of the grid comes about. Cool feature here is the ability to create this grid cover image. The Flipgrid folks do have some nice stock images here for you to select from. You can also upload a personalized image. So for now, we'll go ahead and select this unique color scheme, and we'll go ahead and create our grid. So there we go. Grid's ready. So we'll just add a topic or two and start our classroom discussion. So now within our sample grid, we can create subtopics. So if you think about a sample grid for one, you can create one grid for the course still under the free version, and then just create subtopics under that, sort of how we do with you can create a discussion forum through Moodle, but then add new topics. So for topic 1, we'll just call it Introduction to the Course. Since we're operating on the free version, we only the response times will be limited to 1 minute and 30 seconds. But of course, if you pay for the upgrade, you as the teacher facilitator would be able to dictate the time frame on the responses that you solicit. We can describe the topic. Please introduce yourself to your classmates. And as you can see, you can customize from there. It's got bold, italic. You can do some things with the fonts. Even perhaps link to a separate outside web address if you wanted to have them view some content or a web page before. You'll have the date for the topic that you want to establish, and you can record a video to start the prompt. So basically talk about what is going to be discussed. Then the features, you can customize it from here on if you want it to be active, require email for responses, reply to responses, video likes, video views, freeze, and then we've created the topic. So not to get too inception on here, but just wanted to let everybody know that to introduce a topic on Flipgrid, you can actually record a video prompt. So we'll go ahead and try that. As you can see, it's basically a sample video recorder. It's 3 minutes. You're allowed to create the prompt, and you can just start recording by simply hitting the pink record button. So we'll go 2, 1. Hi everybody, welcome to the course. What's your favorite color? And that's just a sample of what a prompt could be to simulate a topic discussion with your students. Thanks. Hi everybody, welcome to the course. What's your favorite? And after you complete your video prompt, it asks for a selfie. Say cheese. So as you can see by the candid photo, we were successful in uploading our topic video. When it comes down here, we can customize the features even further, making it active and visible. We can require email addresses for responses. We can also customize the replies. Obviously, this is a feature of the classroom version, professional version that many of you are likely to use. You can implement a like function to the videos. Also look at the number of views, and you can also freeze the topic so that it's still available on the grid, but it can no longer be discussed. So that's some of the custom features you can provide for your topic, and we'll go ahead and update this topic for now. So I want to go ahead and give you guys the user experience from the student side. What I've done to access our sample Flipgrid is just got the shareable link URL, copied it to my browser, and then you can go from there. But since it's relatively public, this is a sample of what you would see, what the student would see. So here you have our introductory topic video that I shared with you earlier. And then you would have all of the responses that were provided. And so as a student, all you would need to do is go in and add a response. So there you go. You pop up with the similar recording like we had previously. I've changed my outfit to show that I'm a student and not an instructor in this capacity. So I can go ahead and record myself saying, "Hi, I'm Sam and my favorite color is red." Hi, I'm Sam and my favorite color is red. So then you have the option, as you can see, to delete or be happy with what you have. Just like the instructor, you have to snap a selfie. Here we go. Not the best photo, but you get the idea. And then I'll enter my name here, Sam Stanton. And then I'll put in my email. Let's do my personal email here just for argument's sake. But so there you can see. So my grid's moderated and my video's got to be approved by the instructor, but it'll show me that I've been successful in adding my video submission. So one of the cool functions of Flipgrid is this Global Grid Connections tab, which is can be accessed from your dashboard. Basically, it's a repository of other public view grids by other teachers and instructors. It's searchable by grade level, and this is a great way to sort of get great ideas for discussions from other teachers, as well as maybe expose your students to maybe what an international perspective or an othering sort of experience with a classroom community or learning community in a different geographic area. Just for example, we'll select this Power of Poetry grid published by Natasha here. You can see that and then you have the goal here of the connection. And she says here that her students wrote and delivered spoken word poems using Flipgrid, and they want to get some feedback from other students and other around the world. So in that spirit of cosmopolitan spirit of global collaboration, 21st century skills, let's go ahead and select the prompt or the one topic here, the spoken word poetry. And let's go ahead and take the opportunity to hear about Nate's poem.
The poem is Music by Nate Roth. Music is the rhythm of life. The rhythm fills every living creature with purpose. It has the ability to brighten everyone's day or do the complete opposite. Music is the rhythm of life. It can evoke any emotion out of.
So I don't want to go through cut Nate off, but I did just want to give you kind of a brief introduction to it. As you can see, we have this Skylar Flipgrid user who's posted a reply, and you can even add a reply as an administrator, or students with the link and access to the Global Connections tab can also provide feedback for the student on the Global Connections tab. So another cool aspect of Flipgrid is that flattened classroom sort of feeling that you get, and the ability to collaborate with other learning communities. So as we begin to sort of wrap up the simulation portion of the presentation, did just want to direct you to the blog.flipgrid.com. This is a really neat web page, a good resource that Flipgrid has established in a blog space. They come out with usually monthly posts about updates to the tool, also some frequently asked questions. They have some compelling articles such as this one from last month on Flipgrid and student privacy. And they have certain contests that they run throughout the year for students with the tool. So certainly I would direct you to the blog if you have any questions. Maybe a good resource. Okay, folks, as we transition out of the sort of demonstration part of the presentation, I want to leave you with 6 important objectives or 6 pillars to go forward with as you think about implementing Flipgrid in your learning communities. I've coined them the 6 paths. Number 1 is you want to make it personal. Ask students to expound on everyday things that matter to them. Number 2, you want to invite comparison. You want to look for similarities and differences of experiences. And I would argue that Flipgrid is a uniquely poised tool to illustrate this. You want to make sure that students find meaning. The discussion is going to be more vibrant if the topic in the past, present, or future really affects them. And this is particularly true when you start thinking about humanities disciplines, subjects of history, politics, and also the arts. Also just important to lay ground rules to make sure that it's a civil and productive discussion. I want to make sure that you're current in the sciences. You think about compelling current events that students can have these discussions on: water quality concerns, climate change, food shortages, these types of things. Also encourage students to use visuals. Flipgrid is a uniquely visual tool, and take advantage of the video platform so that students can include pictures, artwork, first-hand artifacts, sort of interacting on different surfaces and different dimensions, if you will, that aren't readily available in a traditional asynchronous discussion forum using primarily the written word. Also, and lastly, you want to encourage students to collaborate. That's really the main purpose of the tool. Suggest how students can work together on future projects. And what we're doing is sort of laying the foundation or a good indoctrination into civil discussion, productive discussion, practical deliberation, as Aristotle called it, in the 21st century with one another using this uniquely 21st century tool. All right, so as we wrap up our Flipgrid discussion, I want to leave you with some best practice suggestions. Number one, you want to make the topic interesting and multidimensional. The beauty of Flipgrid is that it gives you more options and the ability for students to maybe describe more complex issues in a way that really wouldn't suffice by using just the written word. So make the topic interesting and multidimensional. Would it be something that you would want to engage in and participate in, a discussion that you'd want to have? And you want to reinforce the timely participation. If you're in a hybrid learning environment, you can reference those Flipgrid posts in the classroom, and then in a completely online environment, maybe you yourself end up participating in the discussion. And important to also take the discussions and the prompts and the contributions by the students seriously. And I think sometimes it can be too easy to look at as a supplement, but really it's hard work trying to put together a 90-minute summation of big complex ideas, and you should reward your students in their efforts to do that. On that same token, you want to encourage the students to be clear and concise in their dialogue. For example, I had Dr. Evans who used to conclude every Flipgrid prompt with, "You only have 90 seconds, so be sure to be precise." Now, what this does is it not only keeps the discussion scalable and more accessible for other students, but also as an instructor, you're looking to see how well your students are able to boil down big ideas into more of a more brief narrative, really extracting those big ideas and learning the most efficient means of communication. And you want to create a safe environment. It's important to develop a framework for issues of security, ethics, and user responsibility in the forum. You may, depending on the type of learning environment that you're using the tool in, maybe you're the primary creator or author of these of the guidelines. But if you're dealing with adult learners, maybe open it up for discussion and see kind of what their expectations are and how well those mesh with what your expectations are for the initiative. Now, once you have established what the expectations are, make sure that it's clear, create a rubric, and then stick to it. Make sure that you are using a consistent scale through all of these Flipgrid posts, and that way, students are engaged and adapt to it and adopt it as a one of the key portions of their grade and their assessment. So on the subject of rubrics, I would be remiss if I didn't provide you with perhaps a sample rubric as you implement your Flipgrid discussion boards into your learning environment. This was pulled from my ECI 517 syllabus with the instructor that introduced me to the tool, Dr. Evans. And I just basically duplicated what he had in the syllabus and have provided it for you here as a good sample. As you can see, he had a four-pronged criteria of relevance, analysis and synthesis, participation, and promptness. And then he goes on to define what those mean, and then has a point weight associated with each of those targets. Certainly, you don't need to. You're not held to these. You can maneuver them any way that you'd like, but it gives you sort of an idea of what type of criteria is good to look for as you think about assessing and over measuring how well students are doing with this tool. Well, I do want to thank everybody for listening to this presentation on Flipgrid. Hope it's been helpful and there are some good takeaways from this presentation. You've learned some of the theoretical foundations of the tool as well as some practical applications of it. Before we table our discussion, I'd like to leave you with a couple of quotes. The first one is going to be by Vygotsky, our old friend from earlier in this presentation, arguably the founder of sociocultural learning theory. And it goes, by giving our students practice in talking with others, we give them frames for thinking on their own. Now, the next one is by Mark Zuckerberg, the last one, and he says, the question isn't, what do we want to know about people? It's, what do people want to tell about themselves? And I think this is a very telling quote and fits nicely if we think about it in the context of Flipgrid and these 21st century learning experiences and just 21st century society that we're going to be sending our students out into the world. And I think Flipgrid plays an important role as a conduit sort of between the digital social media world and the classroom and finding a way to make productive use of those other communication means. But that's my time for the evening, and I do appreciate it. Feel free to contact me through the YouTube page or through email if you have any questions about the tool, and I look forward to learning with all of you.